So we are doing beginner witch. Yeah, welcome. Okay, so I want to address a couple cool things. So Rachel was saying about manifesting boards and intentions. So that's being a witch. And then we also have people who are in circles and Wiccans. So that's also being a witch. So the cool thing about being a witch is you get to pick what kind of witch you get to be now. There's so many options. And basically the main thing is about being in your power. I've done a lot of paperwork because there is a ridiculous amount of stuff that we can learn in witchery. And we're going to start with some of these basics for you guys. If you notice, I started right away I can is a manifesting spell. So our words are powerful. They're so powerful. And they're even more powerful when we put them down on paper. So our first magic wand is actually going to be our pen. So that if you want to learn how to just do basic spells, pen to paper, guys. That's going to be your basic spells. We're going to talk an expansion on that. I could literally teach 6 classes on this. Like the lovely girl said, they did a circle. They probably learn new things every week, and maybe we'll get into that if we expand. I wanted to talk about a little bit of the history, though. Does anybody feel that they were a witch in a past life? Does anybody feel they were killed for being a witch in a past life? I was burnt, I was drowned, I was hung, I was all kinds of things. The cool thing about that, yay, and even in this life, I've actually my life has been threatened 3 times for my power. I have not loved that, but we're in a place and time now where we can actually, it's okay, it's safe to be us, right? It's really cool. Now, is it safe in all circles? No, it's really not yet. It's really not. If you go home and you tell some of your friends that you went to a witch class, you might get a little backlash. I don't think they're going to kill you, but socially, it's still not entirely acceptable. In some circles, though, it's like, oh yeah, me too. I'm a witch too. It's like amazing. So people are coming out of the closet. They are starting to own it. I'd like to say it wasn't men that killed women in the past. This was just masculine energy. This was dark ages. So that's the biggest thing to say. This is not guys persecuted women. It was just a nasty religious marketing condensation. If anybody wants to talk more about that, I will. I do not believe in going on and saying, oh, poor me, I was burnt, I was hung, I was all these things. Like, feel sorry for me, I'm a witch. As maybe some of my counterparts do on Facebook. Just so you know. I believe in moving forward in all places of your life. I believe in moving past the past. If you're going to focus on how witches were persecuted in the past, you're going to practice dark magic. Who wants to practice dark magic here? Oh, thank you for your honesty. Tell me about dark magic. What does it mean to be dark magic?
Dark magic is just, it's not light. It's not necessarily evil. It just has more heavier energy.
Yes.
So it's not pushing the words upon by any means. It's just taking things and supplying it.
Yes, no, I understand that. Good and bad is actually judgment, though. So thank you for saying that and being honest about it. Some of my favorite witches practice dark magic, right? And it is about harnessing different energies. Yeah. Now, everything is in the intention of the witch. So even if you think you're practicing dark magic and your intentions are pure and light, it's still light. You want to pretend you're dark, that's okay. You may be a little gray. If you're not sure, though, guys, please don't do it. Our words are so powerful. And then when we start adding these elements of ceremony, which is really what magic witchery is adding ceremony. It's adding rituals. It just makes it much more powerful. So if you're not sure, the main thing about practicing any kind of magic is the power of 3. So the law of 3 is unavoidable. What you put into the world will come back to you 3 times. So if you are saying a spell to bind somebody, you're going to now find yourself blocked 3 times in your life. That's typically a darker magic spell is binding. If you find yourself even like kind of tapping into these new things on the internet about like anxiety, I want to rid myself of anxiety, rid it. I'm sorry, you're going to get 3 times the anxiety. You're going to wonder why your magic's not working. Oh, it is. Actually, you're just super, super anxious now. So you're very powerful. Congratulations. So you want to start really, really, really playing with that. I did mention it in these workbooks, but I want you to write that in your notebook because the power of 3 is the most important thing as a witch and actually as a human too, right? If you go out there and you're like, everybody's angry, everybody's bullshit on the road, I hate the way they drive, you're just going to get 3 times more of them. And the more powerful and emotion you put into things, the more powerful your stuff.
So I was gonna ask you, like, draw that line between dark and light magic, and I guess what I'm kind of thinking is that for me, if I'm sending something out that I would not like to get trapped by the power of 3, that might be a bit.
That's your stop.
Test.
Yeah, that's your stop. Yeah, and then tap into your heart. Does this feel right? Does this feel in alignment with me? Does this, because I can't really tell you what's light or dark for you. I do know that when you truly decide to live in the light, it is very, very, very cool and it's very powerful. A lot of gray magic happens though, because people aren't sure. And so what's happening is their spells just aren't as powerful as they can be. Yeah. There's a couple more dangers when you deal with it. And the main thing is the power 3, but also you want to make sure you're doing the protection. So we're going to talk about how you can protect yourself as well, just to make sure that everything's happening in your greatest good. In my energy work, I work with some energies that not necessarily people would consider light, but they're there in the greatest good for the client. So we still work with them, right? Okay, well, what's in the greatest good? How can we help? I really don't, I think everything has a point, everything has a power. Sometimes our greatest crisis in our life end up being our most rewarding experiences. So when you start taking the good and bad out of everything, you can kind of see the bigger picture. Does that make sense to everybody? So power 3. So anytime you do an intention. The other thing with magic is it should be logical. If you are doing a spell and you are, so you're trying to bring love in your life and somebody told you the spell is to put a rose in the freezer. Does that feel like that would work? No. Yeah. Stupid ass spell that's out there right now.
Really?
Yeah. Why would I freeze stuff? Morons. So if it doesn't make logical sense, please don't do the spell. Those are just the kind of basics. That being said, there is spells everywhere. So if you are not sure and you've still done your tap-ins and you're not sure, send me a message. Thanks. Because I can tell right away if it's going to be your greatest good. Perfect. Awesome. So there's different kinds of ways to tell if you're a witch. Number 1, witches usually have earth powers. So they're naturally attracted to the earth in some way. So that could be the crystals, that could be the essential oils. So many people I know find doTERRA first, or Young Living, or another like essential oil company, because it's really about kind of being a witch. You're playing with these different Mother Nature things, and you're making spells and concoctions and all kinds of super fun things. They're usually smart, so they have this like kind of inner understanding. The coolest thing about us being previously witches, even if you're burnt or killed or whatever, you still get to keep your knowledge. So once you start practicing, a lot of things will actually come back to you. Oh, the light went on there. You want to talk about that?
I think you said about leaving my brain, but I want to be a naturopath, and the way that I like to do it is like I live cottage and I all my stuff. So maybe and with the earth powers.
Yeah. Oh, I got goosebumps head to toe too. So like that's activating some of your witchery. Something you've done in the past, right? Maybe you were a shaman or a medicine woman. Right. I do too. I totally got goosebumps. That's awesome. So a lot of our natural abilities are from our past lives that we want to continue. And a lot of what I've done, I'm just remembering. So that's why I learned so quick in this life. I'm not learning it from the beginning, right? So y'all have little aha moments, hopefully, as we go through what we're doing. They want to live in the woods. That's number 3. Or near a body of water. I believe somebody else wants to live near a bottle of water. Storms. You were not afraid of storms. Since I was a little girl, I said I am the storm. So I've never been afraid of this natural power. I love lightning so much. I love thunder so much. I love that whole like vibe when they're in a lightning storm. So a lot of natural witches are attracted to that. They're usually super attracted to animals. And if you take it to the next level, you'll have a totem or something called a familiar, which is a really, really close animal. That's usually a cat, but it doesn't have to be a cat. It could be a crow, an owl, could be a guinea pig, really. It's kind of whatever animal energy you're attracted to. They really love the moon. Everybody here love the moon? Yeah, I got my moon dress on today. That's kind of your first tap in that your witchery. They are powerful. So they have a sneaking suspicion that their wishes come true, good or bad, and perhaps a little cautious and awe at their own power. I find a lot of witches are actually scared of their own power. Again, because in the past they were killed for it. Like this is a kind of a big thing, guys. We want to know that we're safe to practice now. And where you are safe to practice. So again, you may be not safe to practice in your neighborhood, right? Because, you know, going out there howling at the moon and, you know, you might freak your neighbors out. You might not care, but that's okay. So just being aware of that, but also not being afraid of it. They're naturally drawn to healing. So they're often massage therapists, acupuncturists. Yeah. Kitchery. Like when I was a little girl, I was always making like stuff in the forest. Like I was always combining things, right? So I can remember from a young age, always like even in the bathtub playing this and playing that, and you know, like bobbling and that whole like witchery idea in your head. I was doing that at like 2. Like, where did that come from, right? So they have these past life memories. Being cast out, burned, or drowned. Yeah, very, very fun. I have actually been cast out and attacked in this lifetime by people that I have healed.
Wow.
I know. How do you deal with that? That's fun.
I feel that I've been in either in my past. My mom always mentioned that I was born a nurse.
Mhm.
She goes right from the beginning.
Yes.
You're born a nurse.
Yeah.
So I feel that because then I've been medical since my whole entire life.
Mhm.
You know, medical is social work. You know, so I just got memory back.
I love it. And you're right, nurses are often witches as well. The reason I really bring this up about being cast out in this life is sometimes witches found a coven or we were trying to attract to people in the beginning where everybody was still a little hurt and triggered, and the circles were not always healthy. I don't know if you found that, but some of the first circles, and even ones that are going on right now, they're just a bunch of women that haven't quite done their healing yet. So it gets a little catty, it gets a little nasty, and then they all have magic, you know. So like that's a real thing, right? So just being aware that you're attracting, and you're also attracting the women that have done a little bit more of the healing. They're not going to be triggered, and they're going to support you, because we want any kind of circles like this, super supportive, right? Everybody here would support each other. So when you get into the spirituality circles, are still trying to find their way, and there's still a lot of gossip, still a lot of like, can you help me with the word?
Misguided intention.
Misguided intention, thank you. Right. Cool. So if that doesn't align, no, there is other things out there though. You don't have to get stuck there. You have a sense of outsiderness. You've never really quite felt like you fit in. I think we can all put our hands up for that one. Mystical crystals. You're drawn to beautiful rocks to the point where you may have 2 crystals stores. So one in your house and one in there. Might be a little witchery. Magic. You do believe in magic as a child, and you see magic in the air and in life. So what exactly is magic, though? That's kind of an interesting question itself.
It's funny because when you said that, I just pictured beautiful blue sky and like breeze in my face and nature, sound, just little birds chirping. It just calm. That's the instant image I got.
I love it. Yeah, magic is actually a feeling is what it is. So just like love, you know it when you're in it. You really know it when you're in it. And you feel like I was driving here today and I was so in my magic already. Like the music was good and my voice was clear and I was just like I was already living the magic and I was so excited to come and teach today. So if it doesn't light you up, then it's not quite magic. Good or bad, it's gonna light you up. So now what we do though is we add divinations to things. So we have this like sixth sense, but we also add to it with like tarot cards, with the crystals, with the candles. I'm going to teach you a lot about candle magic today. Candle magic, I feel is like the easiest one to kind of capture because you're using a candle is actually all the elements. So it's your breath when you speak, it's the spells, the wax is the earth, the melting is the flow of water, and then obviously we have fire. So anything that has the four elements, and then yourself, which is the fifth, which is spirit, which is how we get the star. Some people call it the pentagram. Is that what we would call it, Christine? Do I have a pentagram? You have one or two on yours? It's a proud symbol. You don't have to own it though. Right? It can just be the star. You don't have to walk around and like put it on everything. But like anybody who does own it, it's a badge of honor, right? But again, make sure that you're at that point before you start tapping into that with everybody. You know, you can dip a toe. Nobody really needs to know what you're doing. It's your own business. Your magic practice is your magic practice, right? So it's lovely to share with people, but it's very, very personal. So like anything I teach you guys, I want you to find your own way. I'll teach you kind of the parameters, but then I want you to pick how you want to do it. So there are different kinds of witches. And typically there was like kind of three. Now we have expanded because we're in a really cool time of evolution. I've included some new witches. I don't know if you've experienced this, but one of them, the first one is the green witch or the forest witch. So then again, this is the traditional one. There used to be three. And now it's a blend for a lot of people. It's not just one thing or the other. It's usually a blend of things. Green witches can be found in careers such as horticulture, gardening. They revolve around great outdoors. Their hair is windswept with leaves and twigs. There's mud patches on their knees. They like to play in the earth. They often, thank you, like to gather their own herbs. Right, so you'll find them growing their clover and their maybe you just had like a nice little spice garden, right? So that would be an indication you're a bit of a green witch. Then we have the kitchen witch, also known as cottage witch. They're very hands-on. I am not a kitchen witch, just so you know. Not even a little. But I do have one that makes food for me. Can I share the pot pie? So Jeannie put a pentagram on my pot pie, my chicken pot pie. And my husband goes to cook it, and he's like, "What the fuck is this?"
That's hilarious.
It's still a little scared. Not everybody loved it. Everybody felt good. Literally after he ate though, he's like, "My face kind of feels funny." I'm like, "You're fine. It's fine." So a lot of magic is what you believe in, guys. That's actually a really good point. I'll just sneak that in there. If you think somebody has hexed you, they have because you believe it. Mm. Can anybody hex right now? Can they? So it takes a very, 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 very powerful witch to actually put a hex on somebody right now because we're all a little bit into our magic. So we're not walking around as vulnerable as we used to be. So if somebody that evil is taking care of it, let me know and we'll manage it. But mostly it's just your own fear. And they sent you something called ill will, which is a very real thing. Ill will can make you feel like your tummy off. It can give you bladder infections. And people do it all the time because they're assholes. So they don't mean to do it, but they send other people ill will. So if that has occurred, then there's we're going to do a healing spell today for everybody. So I'll clear that all up for you guys. Make sense? Cool. We'll talk more about that too. There's so many things. So if you guys think of questions, please write it down. If you don't want to do it now, then we can talk about it later. The head witch is an alchemist, so I am part head witch. She actively pursues the transformation and metaphysical lead to gold, him or her, obviously. Utilizes a wide variety of practices to do this, including psychological, emotional, and physical. So this is what I was before I even knew what it was, right? I was always working all these different kind of things. I always believed that it was 5 parts of the body that needed to heal. And that was kind of my witchery coming through. They could make good yoga teachers, holistic counselors, philosophers, mentors, writers, poets, linguistics. They're drawn to ancient history and archaeology. And they live a path that brings shadow to light, whether that's finding ancient old ruins or working within the dream shadow realm. Yeah. And like I said, if some of these relate to you. Then we have the Crow Witch. So the Crow Witch is really like obvious. She's usually the darker one. She has the crows on her. They have the pentagrams. They work with a lot of animals. They're dedicated power animals, not necessarily familiar. They're the wolf witches, the snake witches, the leopard witches, and more. They're attuned to the symbolism of the crows and include feathers and other talisman in their personal rituals, and offer healers and guides to those who seek their wisdom. They're usually they work with a lot of like symbolism. They make a lot of candles. They make a lot of like deities and puppets. And does that make sense to anybody? Okay, cool. Then we have the energy witch. Again, working with energy can involve a number of tools such as sound healing, smudging. And the last 3, the Crow Witch, the Energy Witch, and the Yoga Witch, these are newer witches coming through. They do a lot of sound, light sound resonance, and even shadow work. They're attuned to feeling energy in the room. They're very empathic, which is interesting because we had the empath last week, and now we have the witch this week. They can know when somebody's anger is set. They're usually energy healers, Reiki practitioners, and light workers. They tend to have a lot of knowledge on the chakras and other forms of energy healing, like plant and sound vibrations, elemental ancestrals, and angelic frequencies. So this brings us out of that kind of old idea that witches do spells and stuff. So when you're working as a witch with energy, it's a little bit different practice. So if this aligns to you and you want to know more, let me know. And the last one is the Yoga Witch. You can find them in yoga studios. There's a mystical vibe about them. Usually have smoky eyes, pagan tattoos, read ceremonies, books related device ideas, and philosophies. Okay, so that being said, circle the ones that you think align with you. There are many other types. There's sea witches, there's art witches, there's electric witches, there's fairy witches. Your craft is your passion. So really, you get to pick whatever you want. And the whole idea nowadays is not being labeled. You don't need to be in a box. You can just be a witch. Does anybody have any questions about this? Mm-hmm. I'd say energy and kitchen. Yeah, I think you're a mix of those two. I think you're still waking up here. That's the thing. We're still waking up our magic. Okay. Does anybody want to take a quick break? Yeah. I'm just gonna pause this. I have to go to the bathroom, so everybody.